Greetings, human. I'm N.O.T.A. My name, N.O.T.A. You should vote N.O.T.A for President of States United. You see, voting is fraud. Therefore, you vote N.O.T.A. What is N.O.T.A? Well, it's not me. I cartoon, silly. No, N.O.T.A mean none of the above. Yes, none of the above. You don't vote for one evil or another evil. You vote N.O.T.A. None of the above. Yes, none of the above. This just happened to be my name, N.O.T.A. You vote N.O.T.A for president. Now, let us speak of voting. What is the difference between voting and electing? What is different?
In the 2000 United States presidential election, Democrat Al Gore received 48.38% of the popular vote, while Republican George W. Bush received 47.87%. Who won this election and became President of the United States? If you said George W. Bush, you're right. Yet you might be wondering, how is it possible for a candidate to win the popular vote but not actually become president? In this lesson, we'll look at indirect elections, such as when we vote for president, compared with direct elections. By the end, you'll better understand how a candidate can win the popular vote, but may or may not become president as a result. Unlike in the presidential election, when you vote for your state representative, the total number of votes will determine the winner of the election. The votes cast directly by citizens is known as the popular vote, referring to the actual votes of the people. So if you and 5 million of your neighbors vote for a particular candidate, and that is the most votes that any candidate receives, you have yourself a winner. This is a type of direct election in which the popular vote directly determines the outcome of an election. When you cast your ballot, and that ballot is tallied up with others, this directly determines the election with no intermediary or other calculations necessary. The process to elect the president, on the other hand, is an example of an indirect election, one in which an intermediary body, elected by the people, is responsible for the outcome of an election. The Electoral College of the United States is an example of the intermediary group that determines the winner. The Electoral College isn't a college at all, really. It's a group of people known as electors, 538 to be exact. Each state is represented by a specific number of electors. The amount of electors matches the amount of members that represent that state in Congress. So in the case of Massachusetts, which currently has 11 total delegates to Congress, that's 2 senators and 9 representatives, the state would get 11 Electoral College votes. In the case of Wyoming, which has a smaller population, they'll get 3 votes since they have 2 senators and 1 representative. When you place your vote for a president, it helps determine who the electors will vote to elect on your behalf.
So United States presidential election is indirect election. Well, how do it work in other countries? How about some of the communist and radical, horrible countries that we always hear about? Do they have indirect elections, or do their people vote for their president? Let us take a quick look to see. Here's Afghanistan. Oh, that horrible country with a direct election of the common people for president. India has indirect election. Iceland and Indonesia, they directly vote for president. And there's Iran, that horrible country in Middle East with a direct election of their president by common people. United States not looking so good at this point. Here is Kazakhstan and Kenya, both with direct elections of president, and here is even Republic of Korea with direct election. If it make you feel better, Pakistan also have indirect election for president. They equally screwed as you are. I guess that's good, in a way. But when we look, we see Palau, the Palestinian National Authority, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, the Philippines, Poland, and Portugal all have direct elections for president. And finally, we come to Russia. Oh, hilariously, Russia people vote for their president. Oh, but Russia's such a horrible country. No, actually, people have more rights there than they do here in the United States. They even get to vote for their president. No wonder United States wish to go to war with Russia. As we follow list, we see Turkey, we see Tunisia, we see Tanzania, we see all kinds of countries with direct elections, lots of which United States happen to be at war with, which is like everyone. And finally, we come to United States, which is listed as an indirect election. By God, people, wake the hell up here.
Welcome to the 56th meeting of the North Carolina Electoral College, here at the state capitol in Raleigh. Our program will begin with the call to order by Secretary of State Elaine F. Marshall.
Welcome, everyone, to the 56th meeting of the North Carolina Electoral College. I am often asked, how does a citizen ever become an elector? Well, the process is fairly simple. You must be a citizen who is over 21 years of age. Sorry about that. Let's start again. You must be a citizen who is over 21 years of age and eligible to vote. You also cannot be a federal office holder or certain kinds of other public official. Then you offer your name to your political party for consideration. Generally, the political parties pick their slate of elector nominees pursuant to party rules at their annual political convention in each election year. Those names are submitted by the respective parties to the Office of Secretary of State sometime in the summer, and they're held until the election of November. Once we wait and see which candidate has been certified to us, we then call those electors. The elector nominees from the different political parties just simply wait to see who the voters vote for as president and vice president, which means in reality, when the voters of North Carolina voted this past November, they were actually voting to pick this slate of electors instead of voting directly for the president and the vice president. As we move to the formal meeting of electors, I would like to introduce our electors to this gathering. The 15 Republican electors were called to Raleigh and have assembled here to cast North Carolina's 15 electoral votes for president and vice president. They were actually voting to pick this slate of electors instead of voting directly for the president and the vice president. When the voters of North Carolina voted this past November, they were actually voting to pick this slate of electors instead of voting directly for the president and the vice president.
Here is typical citizenship examination questions from Bureau of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Now you ask silly American citizen who elect president, they say, I do. Sillies. But an illegal alien, no. To get in this country, he must know that the President of United States is elected by the Electoral College. Not the common people, of course, sillies.
Pursuant to the Constitution and laws of the United States, the Senate and the House of Representatives are meeting in joint session to verify the certificates and count the votes of the electors of the several states for President and Vice President of the United States.
In 1950, responsibility for the Electoral College was given to the National Archives and Records Administration to be administered by the Office of the Federal Register.
So this is a meeting of the presidential electors as they officially cast Maryland's electoral votes for president and vice president.
When Americans vote at the general election, we're actually voting for a slate of electors. We're not voting for the candidates. Generally, they're people who are very active in their political parties within their states, but usually on the state's ballot, those slates of electors are represented by the candidates. Each state gets one elector per member of Congress. So, for example, Maryland has 2 senators and 8 members of the House. So it gets 10 total electoral votes. It's a winner-take-all system. I, Beth Scobie, vote for Barack Obama for president.
Barack Obama for president.
In each state, all the electors vote for the candidate who won the popular vote in that state. After the electors meet and they vote, they'll send a package to us. That package will contain a certificate of ascertainment and the state certificate of vote. The certificate of ascertainment just lists the number of votes each electoral slate got and tells you who won. The certificate of vote tells us how each elector voted. We review them to make sure that they have a seal, that they're signed. The Constitution says that people who are in Congress can't be electors. The certificates are brought down the aisle in ceremonial boxes and presented to the tellers who are going to open the boxes and count the votes.
To be elected President of the United States, a candidate needs to win 270 electoral votes. That's half of the total plus 1. After the 2000 election, Vice President Al Gore, in his capacity as President of the Senate, had to make the announcement to a joint session of Congress that he had lost the Electoral College.
George W. Bush of the state of Texas has received for President of the United States 271 votes. Al Gore of the state of Tennessee has received 266 votes.
Visit the Office of the Federal Register's website at archives.gov.
Oh, okay. Let us go to National Archives and Record Site for Government to see what government tells us about our status. Why do we have this Electoral College, and what is the difference between voter and elector? Here at National Archives site, we see frequently asked questions. Why do we have Electoral College? One question say, how it possible for electoral vote to produce a different result than the national-wide popular vote? What does it say? Listen to this, you sillies. It is important to remember that the president is not chosen by a nationwide popular vote. Again, president not chosen by a nationwide popular vote. So why in hell do we vote in popular election? The Electoral College vote totals determine winner, not statistical plurality or majority a candidate may have in nationwide popular vote totals. How that work? Why we vote? Why we not say none of the above? Don't make sense. 48 of 50 states award electoral votes on winner-take-all basis. That don't make sense either. That means that elector who want other candidate, his vote go to opposite candidate. 55 of California electoral vote go to the winner of state election? That don't make sense. That mean that entire population of California popular vote go to one candidate. So if vote is 51% to 49%, 100% of electoral vote go to single candidate? So popular vote mean nothing. Okay, so why do we have Electoral College? The term Electoral College does not appear in Constitution. Let me say again, Electoral College, the term does not appear in the Constitution. But the term electors is certainly there, just not Electoral College. Yes, it is in a regional designed by a regional fathers, a regional elect, that only elect should be able to elect President of United States. Most people were illiterate, as they are today in political speak.
Takes some 266 electoral votes to win the presidency, you know. Electoral votes, the majority vote from each of the states, picks the electoral slate from that state, then they are cast on next December. But we'll know the results sometime tonight or early in the morning. Let's take a look now at the popular vote in the United States at this particular moment. For Governor Stevenson, the Democratic candidate from Illinois, 265,000 votes. For General Eisenhower, 282,000. In the electoral vote, 266 votes needed to win. Governor Stevenson is leading in 8 states with a total of 96 electoral votes. General Eisenhower is leading in 15 states with a total of 144 electoral votes. And now for perhaps a prediction on how this voting is going, what the vote that is in so far means. Let's turn to that miracle of the modern age, the electronic brain UNIVAC, and Charles Collingwood.
And so every 4 years, the media corporations spend billions and billions of dollars to continue grand illusion so that ignorant idiocracy of American common people, the proles, continue to think they vote for president. Ah, sillies. This is not illiteracy, this is voluntary ignorance, complete buffoonery on part of citizens. And to reinforce fact that common people do not vote for president, it states that many different proposals to alter presidential election process have been offered over the years, such as a direct nationwide election by common people. Again, that means common people don't vote! Which of course means that the people do not vote for president, sillies, because none of these proposals have been passed by Congress and sent to states for ratification as constitutional amendment. So come on, vote N.O.T.A for president, none of the above. Why vote for one evil or another when you can vote N.O.T.A? You can send message to these organized criminals that says you are onto their game, their delusion, that you woke it up and you vote none of the above. Look at these sillies. They actually think they voted for president.
feel tonight?
It feels like hope won. It feels like it's not just a victory for, obviously, Barack Obama. It feels like America did the right thing. It feels like there's a shift in consciousness. It feels like something really big and bold has happened here.
Oprah G. Winfrey. Oprah G. Winfrey is a global media icon. Oprah Winfrey's innate gift for tapping into our most fervent hopes and deepest fears drew millions of viewers across every background, making her show the highest-rated talk show in television history. Off-screen, Oprah Winfrey has used her influence
On side note, we see a question that say, what impact does candidates' concession speech have on Electoral College process? The answer? None of the above. None at all. These have nothing to do with process, purely for show. These have nothing to do with process of Electoral College. It's just for show, to continue grand delusion. You vote none of the above. Vote N.O.T.A. But let us talk about real history here. Here is Maine newspaper asking why Maine splits its electoral votes. It begins by posing question. Does the Electoral College have you stumped? Especially the part about Maine and Nebraska being the only two states that could divvy up their electoral votes among presidential candidates? Here we find real history behind this ridiculous process. Again, term Electoral College does not appear in U.S. Constitution, although elector do as part of original design. In Federalist Papers number 68, Alexander Hamilton refers to process of selecting the executive, where he refers to the people of each state, who shall choose a number of persons as electors. But he does not use term Electoral College. Now, it is important here to know that you, as common national citizens, are not the same as people of states. You are citizen of nation, the electors citizen of states. There are no public persons in states, only private citizens. A public citizen is of nation, not state, and this why public persons, United States citizens, do not vote for president. The states decide, not you, silly. And because nothing original about America, about Constitution, we discovered that Founding Fathers appropriated concept of electors from Holy Roman Empire. Oh, what a shocker. An elector was one of a number of princes of the various German states within the Holy Roman Empire. And finally, the term college, from the Latin collegium, refer to body of people that acts as unit, as in the College of Cardinals who advise the Pope and vote in papal elections. Only in early 1800s did the term Electoral College come into general usage in the U.S. In the States United as the unofficial designation for the group of citizens selected to cast votes for president and vice president. Useful idiots, mostly. Note again here that Office of Federal Register, the National Archives and Records Administration, is source for this information. And so here we are again, back at National Archives and Records Administration U.S. Electoral College website, where it talks about electors. What are qualifications to be elector? And here we find that each state's certificates of ascertainment confirms the names of its appointed electors. That's right, not voted, not elected, appointed electors. And who gets to choose or select these electors? Choosing each state's electors is a two-part process. First, the political parties in each state chooses slates of potential electors sometime before the general election. Political parties, artificial persons choose electors, in other words. Second, on election day, the voters in each state select their state's electors by casting their ballots for president. Well, that's confusing. That don't tell you nothing. The voters select their state's electors by voting. They don't vote for president. They don't vote for president. See, here problem. If state population 3 million people and only 3 people show up to vote out of all million people, and 2 people vote one way and one the other, the entire state, popular and electoral votes, go to winner out of 3 votes. It takes just 2 people to win entire state. If no one else votes, then entire state vote, both popular and electoral, go to one candidate. That is, by not voting, they consent to the votes of majority. In this case, 2 people. What idiots we are. So instead of not voting, vote N.O.T.A. Otherwise, multitude of idiots win. By voting none of the above, then the electoral candidates cannot cast their vote because their party nominee is not voted for. Does this make sense to you? But let us return to Office of Federal Register, where the question is asked, are there restrictions on who electors can vote for? The answer? Well, what do you expect? There is no constitutional provision or federal law that require electors to vote according to the results of the popular vote in their states. Some states, however, require electors to cast their votes according to the popular vote. These pledges fall into 2 categories: electors bound by state law and those bound by pledges to political parties? Did you know that your electors for each state actually pledge their votes to their political parties? That is, to private associations, corporations? They don't even make their own choice, those who choose. This is crazy. Nuts. And so we can see how political parties control entire election. The U.S. Supreme Court has held that the Constitution does not require that electors be completely free to act as they choose, and therefore political parties may extract pledges from the electors to vote for parties' nominees? So an elector can be forced to vote a certain way according to political party will? It's crazy. Some state laws provide that so-called faithless electors, faithless like religion? Are political parties actually a religion? So in other words, if elector does not keep pledge or promise to political party to cast vote, the parties be very unhappy, and the elector may be subject to fines or even disqualified from voting, electing, for casting an invalid vote, and be replaced by a substitute elector? How crazy is this? This ensures that party always win. No, vote none of the above. It goes on. It says the Supreme Court has not specifically ruled on question of whether pledges and penalties for failure to vote as pledged may be enforced under the Constitution. No elector has ever been prosecuted for failing to vote as pledged. But looky here. Look at last paragraph. Today, it is rare for electors to disregard the popular vote by casting their electoral vote for someone other than their party's candidate. Electors generally hold a leadership position in their party, or were chosen to recognize years of loyal service to the party. What happened to service to people? You see, President not there to serve common people. President there as CEO of federal corporation. He there to command military against you common people, to protect private people of states. You see, things very different than what you imagine. And so we see that throughout our history as a nation, more than 99% of electors have voted as pledged. That's a pledge not to us, but to political party, to private association, to artificial person, corporation. Not you. So let us recap here so that you understand. 1. No constitution or federal law say that electors must vote according to your will, you multitude of idiocracy. Number 2, it is customary for electors to vote according to which political party chose them to be and appointed them to be the electors. And number 3, though it is rare, electors can disregard the popular vote by casting their electoral vote for someone other than the party's candidate. Though this rarely happens, it can happen anytime population get crazy. In future videos with N.O.T.A, N.O.T.A tell you why it is so important and how much power President actually has, which is way more than you can possibly imagine, which is why elections are rigged. Here a bit more technical description of electoral process is given by Federal Register. Since we already covered this process, I leave this page for you to pause and read yourself, so you have it straight from Federal Register's mouth. But let us move on to final concept here, that being words. Words are very powerful. Unless you understand words, they control you. They can fool you and make you into common idiots. Let us discuss synonyms and antonyms, what is similar and what is opposed to words. For instance, how about this word, elite? Here we see the word as synonym elect. Oh, that means the elect are actually higher than the non-elect. But what we don't see is word vote. So elite mean choice, and to elect is to give a choice. But notice that we do not see voter, only elector. Yes. Other words that go with elite are noble, the top, aristocratic, selected, top drawer, top notch, and upper class. Now, inversely, the antonyms for elite, including lower class and common. Poor, second-rate, bad, and inferior. Just the ordinary low-class people like you. Just commoners like you and me. The synonyms for the word elect are admit, appoint, designate, name, nominate, pick, resolve, vote and vote for, a ballot, to judge, to mark, to prefer, to settle on, to decide upon, to opt for, to pick out, to settle on, and to single out. But the antonyms, the opposite of the elect and the electors, what do? We abstain. We do not choose. We vote. We vote down and vote out, not vote for. Since we do opposite of electing, essentially by voting, we give up our choice, we give waiver to be elector, we refuse and reject our right to choose, we give it up, we ignore it, we abstain from electing because we are just voters. Another word for voting is suffrage. What is it that we suffer? Well, we suffer the will of the elect. We assent, we attest in a ballot, and we come to consensus, even against our will, to the will of the electors. Voting, also known as a franchise. Franchise, very interesting word. Suffrage, or the right to suffrage, the right to the franchise of voting, is equal to prayer. Yes, that's right, prayer. Prayer to the gods who are the elect. We voice our will, but we don't actually elect. We vote. And notice that antonym for suffrage is disagreement. Yes, we stand in public in commonality, and so elite electors must come in and decide for us. We too ignorant to do ourselves. But what is a franchise? Well, it is a corporate position for citizenships, of course. We see the word franchise used as freedom. Yes, as the vote and suffrage, as a ballot, and as an exemption. Notice that opposite or antonym of franchise is actually the word responsibility. Why we all citizens of nation? Because we know responsible. We know follow the natural law. We must follow legal law of the elect. Yes, word freedom mean franchise. Franchise is privilege given to common people by the elite or elect. But you say, no, N.O.T.A. I live in free country. Yes, you live in franchise, you fool. And you get to choose your rulers. Congratulations. You see, to put something into freedom, to make them free in legal speak, that means to enfranchise, to citizenize, to emancipate, to give rights to, or to grant citizenship to. You no believe N.O.T.A, look it up yourself. Any legal dictionary will tell you what word freedom and free mean. And so all of you natural-born citizens of the nation are not the private people of the state. Let us move on to American Dictionary of the English Language by Noah Webster from 1828. A very well-respected dictionary. Now here it say that a voter is one who has a legal right to vote or give his suffrage. I will suffer the will of the elect. I give my consent, my suffrage. I will suffer the will of the elect, in other words. Remember, a legal right can only be given to one who has freedom, which is the franchise of citizenship in the corporation nation. Webster states that to vote, from Latin votum, is properly to wish or to give one's will. This again is not choice, this is prayer. This is please, pretty, please. It is suffrage, the expression of a wish, a desire, a will, or a performance or choice. But it is not making a choice. It is very important to distinguish between voting and electing. Webster states that a vote is a united voice in public prayer. Of course, Bible says never pray in public. So we pray to gods who are the elite, who are the elect. That's where our prayer goes. And to vote means to choose by suffrage, which actually means to grant choice to another, suffer the choice of another. And this is also said to be to grant by vote or expression of will. The word suffrage, again, a voice given, but not the final choice. Again, it is united voice of persons in public prayer. That is persons, not men, but persons. What is person? It is citizenship. It is the franchise of American commoners. Webster also describes an elector as one who elects, or one who has the right of choice. Not of voting, not of praying in public prayer, but the right of choice. Very different than a voter alone, a voter being an elector that do not vote. And so at best we could say that the voter is the elector of the Electoral College, giving away the right to vote to that college. Back in 1828, it was very well known that in the United States, certain persons are appointed or chosen to be electors of the president or chief magistrate. Remember, word magistrate mean God. And finally, we come to word elect. From electus in Latin, to choose. Not to pray, to choosers, but to choose. To select or take for an office or employment, to choose from among a number. To be described as the elect is to be described as chosen. To be taken by preference from among two or more candidates. To be chosen but not inaugurated. Consecrated, as if it's some holy position in church, or invested with office. An elect is one chosen or set apart. It is a word applied to Jesus Christ in Bible. It is one chosen or designated by God to salvation. It is to be predestined to glory, apparently. Perhaps Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, explain it best. It states that elector is one who has the right of a choice or vote. More particularly, though, one who has the right of casting a vote for a public officer. But more specifically, one who, having a right to vote, actually votes. The term electoral is pertaining to or consisting of electors, not voters, as the Electoral College, on which the formal legal choice of president and vice president is made finally to depend. Again, not voter, but elector do formal legal choice of president. And who are the presidential electors? Why, they are the members of Electoral College. Who elects president? Members of Electoral College. Electors elect. Voters simply pray to the electors. The truth is much more stranger than fiction. Now, what else can N.O.T.A tell you except vote me for president? Vote none of the above. Why do you do this? Well, you have 3 choices this election. As voters, you may go to polls and you may vote for one evil or one other evil, for one abstract part of a whole. You will always get same problems because you're voting for a ruler, and power corrupts. Number 2 choice, you may stay home and pretend it don't matter whether you vote or not, but then you're simply giving consent to the idiots who do vote. In other words, you suffer will of fools all around you without giving any voice. But we have third option. We vote none of the above. These cancel out possibility for electors to do their job. What does that mean? It means we need new election with better candidates. In conclusion, N.O.T.A wish to tell you to stop being stupid. Quit being suckers. N.O.T.A simply ask to vote none of the above. Quit being so silly. Quit giving right to choose to someone else. 'Cause only way to fix organized criminal system that is our election system, our two-party system, is to stop participating in the process and instead to vote none of the above. If you wish to have say who is commander-in-chief of entire military force, you better vote none of the above until someone good come along. Otherwise, you vote for evil. Now you listen to N.O.T.A good. This system, it is not broken. It work perfectly streamlined for organized criminals who control popular vote through political parties, private corporations, and associations, and through electoral process. You want to make change, you must first make choice. Stop giving choice away and vote none of the above. Thank you very much.